All right, snork. Well, we're just going to start with the end in mind, which is, you can see this is a 16-inch tire tube that we used to convert these bikes, and it was quite a lot of tension. It made it easy to install it, but it was just a bit too tight. But that's the move that we're doing to remove. You're going to need to remove the skirting of the tube with a pair of scissors, and just slice it as close as you can, because your brakes are gonna be needing to connect with the rim. So you'll have to do that right after you install it and get it all in. Okay, so for this purpose, we're using a 20-inch tube, and you can see that you're just gonna cut right along that center line and fillet this right down the middle. Okay.
And just stay as close to that center line as possible.
Right, and just keep going all the way around, and you'll wind up right back where you started. And there you go, there's your valve that you're gonna keep, and you just open that all the way up and just dust it off, and the next step is to put it onto the rim. Right, so we're using a 26-inch wheel here. This is off of the Black Giant, and it is 26-inch, and it is a Araya rim that is using cantilever brakes. So to take the tire off, you know that, you just want to get your levers right under there and use them to connect onto the rim. You should be able to do that with two knots. Make sure all the air is out of your tubes. This is what's going to be like when you remove your tire to replace your tires. This is quite a sticky situation right here. You just have to persist through it and keep going and prying it off until it's off. Okay, you're definitely going to need another 20-inch tube by 2.2 to fillet. So again, you're going to need a 20 by 2-inch tube to put your Schwalbes on. Okay, so now to install it, obviously there was a bit of insulation tape on this rim already. We're going to leave that on there, and if you've got a strip of rim tape, leave the rim tape on there, and we're going to put the new liner in. On this rim, it was set up for a Presta. Now we're putting a Schrader in. Most Schraders are about a 7.5 to 8. This valve happens to be a little bit thick right here at the end, which is an 8.5. Interestingly enough, so 8.5, and we'll just drill that out so that don't worry, you won't have to drill anything out because your rim valve hole is already set. It all out using these Schrader type valves, because if you do want to top up the sealant, you get a much wider valve. It's much easier to take this valve core out and to pump in the sealant with all of that fine fibers and stuff. It doesn't get as caught as much as it does in the smaller Presta type valve, which you can see is quite a bit narrower than the Presta valve. Look at that. Okay, than the Schrader valve. So it's pretty easy. You just get it on there and it starts to follow around until you can pull the last bit of that on. And then it's very important you press down on the middle of this and you have an equal amount on both sides. So just spend some time equalizing that tube so it's on both sides. Make sure your valve is very straight. You don't want to like have it coming in at an angle that's nice and straight. Keep going around. You've got the lines on either side so you can have, makes it easy to balance the tube on the rim, making sure you have the same amount of overlap on both sides of the rim. Once that is done, you're going to press down until that kind of pulls it all, and we're ready to fit the tire. All right, we're ready to fit the tire, and you can go the talcum powder method or you can go the sunlight liquid method. We're going to go sunlight and water. All right, Snork. So now you got your soapy water. You're just going to soap up the whole rim, nice and slick, and the tire as well. And I'm just going to add a little bit more of this because, yeah, we want it as slippery as possible. There we go. Try not to get too much soap inside the tire because you don't want it to mix with the sealant. You're just really getting it on to the bead. Soapy water on the bead of the tire.
Not so much soap in there. Right. So the direction, quite easy. You can just notice again, like we put your other
tires on. There's the direction arrow. There it is right there. Rotation. And boom. So just work on that bead one side first. You don't want to try. There you go. There's the one bead. There. See that? One bead inside and start from there. So you're gonna get close to the end and just work it on as much as you can with your fingers. And because of the depth of this rim, it's a little bit harder. You can, if you got strong thumbs, pop it on. And I totally recommend as much as you can work without the tool. Work without the tool. Ensure that the overlap of the rim strip, the inner tube that you've cut in there, stays balanced. And you still can balance it as you go. So I've got a tool here. These green crowbars are quite nice. And you're just gonna work it on nice and gently. Make sure you don't put too much pressure onto the rim. Okay, otherwise, if you cut the tube, then it won't work so good. Nice and gentle.
Torin, this is a really important part
one's
about
there, and you just
using the
leapfrog
crowbars. Definitely
the next one.
lever it on carefully. Watch how I leapfrog
in there.
each one until I can pop it on.
And gently pop it on. Leapfrog over. Make sure, release a bit of the tension so you can get the second one in there. Hopefully you can see that. Releasing some of the tension there. And the second one's in. And then on and on. and then jump over, change hands, release some of the tension, slide that guy in, and then once he's in, then they both can go. Leapfrog over, probably the last one. Boom. Okay, so you're in, one bead on. Now the hard work's ready to start. Make sure that that first bead is in there. Take your hands and just push that inside bead as far over to leave room for the second bead for this last side of the tire to work itself in. Okay, so once that's all the way in there, you push it over, and then you can work in. And then this is where it's popping on. Just hold that right there. Again, it's also good to have a second pair of hands right here, holding this on as you work the tire around and on. And it's slipping nicely. There we go.
Don't worry if you don't have an extra pair of hands, it's fine. You can work it on and just use the levers to pop it on. But just before you do that, put the sealant in.
Put the sealant in so that we get maximum fiber content in. We get nothing. Of course, when you top up, you can use the valve because you're not going to take the bead off again until the tires are completely finished and you're replacing the tires. So once we get this on, we're on.
Okay, once it's on, you are good to go, and you just need to use the plugs from there on out. That's the great thing. You want to take these wheels off until you take the tires off.
Right. So this is just an old hydration pack pipe. It actually works perfectly for the outside of the valve.
Right, Tor, we're going to add the sealant straight into the tire. This tube system is off a hydration pack. I'll send it along with the stuff with Lloyd. It's only there if you want to add any sealant. It fits nicely over the valve and is just quite easy. Fits on most sealant bottles. So whatever sealant you pick up, just adapt it. It's just easy to get it inside the valve. I'll also send along a valve core remover and show you how to do that. But don't worry about that right at this point because we're going to pump in the 150 odd mils of sealant.
We'll get to that about topping it up
and show you how to do that.
Just now how to remove the valve to put extra sealant in. But for now, we're going to make sure we shake this up. Okay. So you get, and you're going to put about 120 to 150 mils in. So it's a little bit extra, but it's good to go overs. And I've put this into 5 increments, and there's 100 mils at each thing. So we're just going to flip the tire around. There's the last little bead that needs to go on, and we're just going to fill that guy out there, and it's going good. And we can see how much we're going to add another 50 mils. There we go. Nice. Lots of sealant in that one. Okay.
Hey, Tor, if you buy the sealant, it'll probably come in a 500 mil.
So now the sealant's at the bottom, and it's not
if you just divide that up into 5, you can 5
again for that
even things. You'll see that you can put in the sealant according to how much you want to put in there, and then the extra amount you'll have, just bring that with you.
And a little bit of help. We're just going to pop this on the rest of the way. Excellent. Excellent.
Tor, one of the greatest assets of this whole system and process is that you can just use a floor pump and possibly even your pump that you brought with you. You won't need to bomb it at all.
That is a first. But what we are going to do is make sure
have any bombs with you. You just pump it up. It just seals so nicely.
Making sure that we'll call the extra tube is balanced. Right. And then we're going to pull the bead out as wide as we can. Right, so we're just pumping the tires straight, and it magically has captured air. And I think it's just because it's just such a good system. so much rubber connecting rubber between the rim. So there, at no point is there not rubber on rubber that's making a seal. So just from a floor pump, we've captured it. So now we're just going to go right up to about 40 psi or 4 bar to make sure that this bead, as you see, it's not popped all the way out. So that'll take a little bit of pressure. We're going to do that real quick. All right, Kyle's going to take over now. Here we go. You're it, Kyle. Right, so this bead had, we've got like, 3.5, almost 4 bar in there, which is about 60 PSI. And it's popped out nice. It looked like it went there right away. So this was like easier than...
You really don't have to go that high in pressure. Just make sure that your bead is even all the way around. It should happen right around 20 PSI, and 2 bar, easy peasy.
So just following those steps, and just to recap, just make sure you've got that
pressure gauge.
That
don't worry about
there.
it. You just
you don't have sunlight,
use your finger thumb system to see if you got enough air in there.
It's toxic at some level, but that would be to now cut this off. And as you saw what Spoo was doing, I'm not going to cut this one, but you just get your scissors right there as close to the tire, and you just use the scissor, use the tire as a guide, and you can run it if it's a sharp pair of scissors, or you'll have to work the scissors as you go. But you can seriously, as you saw Spoo was doing, go right around like that. And it takes that. Save that extra bit of rubber. You don't know when your mates on your bike are going to need to use that to silence some of the rattlies that happen out on the trail.
So, Torin, good luck. It's going to be lots of fun. If you get a chance to do a couple video clips of your wrestling your tire onto your rims, please do. And send that on. I'll send you a complete list of what you need, and we'll look forward to seeing you.